reminds me of my old daytime talk show.
Hey,
no brawls, no brawls.
Yeah, right. No throwing chairs.
If you haven't been hugged by Geraldo, you'll have a chance to do that afterwards. But coming up after Geraldo, we still got Mark Stein's going to be here, Eric and Lara Trump with a big announcement, and Mike Rowe, Mr. Blue Collar, he'll be also to close the show. So all that's coming in your direction.
All brought to us today by FedEx.
Didn't they just have a baby? They had a baby.
They have a little boy named Luke, and they just announced they're having another baby.
Another baby.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that. But right now, let's talk to you about what's happening with William Barr. So Rod Rosenstein, he defended him because the left is saying he was trying to mislead the public. They're all upset because he used the word spying. And Rosenstein said, I think it's just completely bizarre. He said it'd be different if Barr had said, I'm not going to give you the report at all. But instead, he wanted to give the top line conclusions. And that's what we were just trying to do, to try to give a summary so that American people didn't have to wait weeks to read the whole thing.
I think that William Barr is an impeccable, superb professional. I think that if William Barr had been President Trump's first choice for Attorney General, we never would have had Russia collusion, delusion, illusion. I think that what he said was right on, spot on. I have little doubt, but that the Obama-era Justice Department spied on the Trump campaign, spied on the president-elect, and I think in many ways engineered and made absolutely probable all of the trauma we've gone through with this whole Russia.
Oh, how about this?
Game.
James Comey, still all 6'11" of him, disagrees. Watch.
Disagrees with me? Whoa.
With respect to Barr's comments, I really don't know what he's talking about when he talks about spying on the campaign. When I hear that kind of language used, it's concerning because the FBI and the Department of Justice conduct court-ordered electronic surveillance. I have never thought of that as spying. If the Attorney General has come to the belief that that should be called spying, wow, that's going to require a whole lot of conversations inside the Department of Justice. But I don't know what he meant by that term.
And it's key because he said court-ordered. And all the questions come down to what was told to the FISA court to get the order.
I have no doubt but that what you just saw is one of the most disingenuous interviews I have heard recently.
Wow.
To say that electronic surveillance and spying are different. What is the exact difference? Is it the method? There is no doubt. I believe that they did wiretap Obama's, or rather Trump's office here in New York. I believe that they turned informants in the way they twisted arms to get people in trouble, get them conflicted, so they had to snitch anything that they knew about the president.
Talking about
Papadopoulos,
Carter Page.
Carter, and you know, you have a situation here where poor Michael Flynn. They twisted these people. They got them in a perjury trap. They had them by the short hairs. They got them to cooperate. And guess what? There was still no Russia collusion. But there is no doubt that to make a fine distinction between surveillance and spying is, I think, deflecting attention from what's going on.
Let's call the audience. Show of hands. Who thinks there was spying on the Trump campaign? Okay, that's every hand in the House. Wow.
And you know, the Henry Kissinger once said, even paranoiacs have enemies. Even though President Trump, or President-elect Trump, was totally paranoid, that doesn't mean he did not have people spying on him. And as it turns out, everything that he said basically is correct. They went after him full bore in what maybe it is overstating. It's not overstating to say spying. Maybe it's overstating to say there was an attempted coup. But they were talking about the 25th Amendment. They were talking about high management getting cabinet-level officials to declare the president in compos mentis and to take over. I mean, this was very, very serious. I think the blowback from this is going to be way bigger than Russiagate was. The collusion illusion is going to dim into history as we find out how a group of non-elected officials tried to overthrow the president of the United States.
How many people knew that Geraldo knew Latin? I was a little surprised by that. Let's see if there goes anyone. They just got one. All right, so let's
Tempest Fugit.
So every day is a surprise in the Trump era, and yesterday was a surprise. We got up to learn that after 7+ years, Julian Assange, who was under arrest in the UK, dragged out of the Ecuadorian embassy. Is he a hero or a villain?
Julian Assange, to me, is an anti-American slime ball whose every action was designed to hurt the United States of America. He did it with Chelsea Manning and the spying in 2010, 2011, when he released those videos of civilian casualties from American airstrikes.
No
tried to undermine our efforts in Iraq and in Afghanistan. Julian Assange then chose the Trump side in the 2016 election, but he did that more to be disruptive because he thought Hillary Clinton was going to win. He tried to undermine her, tried to undermine the whole fabric of our democracy. I have nothing but contempt for Julian Assange, and I hope that justice finally comes called.
How many of you think he was a hero? Raise your hands.
Anybody?
No one, no one. So let me ask you this.
Well, the
what will
president said he
happen
loved
next?
WikiLeaks.
Yeah, well, that's the diabolical cleverness of an Assange. You do people favors, get them on your side momentarily, but he could have easily done it with the Republicans, too. He could have used the same kinds of materials that he had on John Podesta against the Republicans, but they had better electronic defenses against hacking than the Democrats.
Who's the real lawmaker, though? Because Chelsea Manning, she took classified information, serving our country, classified information, and handed it over to Assange. Assange says, I was just freedom of press. I'm allowed to.
He was the publisher.
Exactly. So his punishment, I bet, will be harsher than her punishment was, but her crime, I feel like, was more severe.
I think Chelsea Manning is the original sin in stealing the classified information.
And was pardoned.
And was pardoned, but she did a considerable time, and she's back in jail now because she's not cooperating on the Assange investigation. You know, there is a pathos there. I don't want to get into that. My main point is that Julian Assange is an opportunist whose every move was calculated to hurt the United States of America. There's no doubt about it. If you are a patriot, now they're using the president's words, saying, I love WikiLeaks against him. The president was ebullient in terms of saying, oh, I got this stuff and it's great, isn't it great? What if the shoe was on the other foot? I think the president would have been a wholly different person. He would have been outraged by the attacks. He would have said they're undermining democracy. You cannot play ball with someone like Julian Assange because he is going to destroy your democracy. He's going to play with you today, hurt you tomorrow. Yep. And use you like a yo-yo. It's perfect now. Well, he's an alleged rapist. He's got bail problems in the UK. He's facing extradition to the United States. I think Julian Assange now will be wearing prison stripes.
But I keep it. It's also important to know he's teamed with the Russians. There's no way he was working with teaming with the Russians. He says he has no relationship.
He's a Russian agent, in fact.
Ladies and gentlemen, the great Geraldo over there.
A former Obama White House counsel is in federal court today after prosecutors indicted Greg Craig for lying to investigators about his work on behalf of Ukraine. In a case stemming from Robert Mueller's Russia investigation, this is happening. Chief Congressional Correspondent Mike Emanuel is live for us in Washington with more. The first Democrat to come out of that probe. Mike?
Harris, you're right. Good afternoon. Greg Craig is facing significant charges. The Justice Department notes the maximum penalties are 5 years in prison on each and more than $250,000 in fines. Craig is charged with willfully falsifying and concealing material facts from the Foreign Agents Registration Act unit and making false or misleading statements to the FARA unit. For context, the suggestion is he was lobbying on behalf of Ukraine but did not properly register. Craig served as White House counsel under President Obama. He also worked for President Bill Clinton as one of the lawyers defending him during impeachment. So Craig is very well known here in Washington legal circles. Craig's former law firm was hired back in 2012 by the Ukrainian government to compile a report on the prosecution of Yulia Tymoshenko. She's a former Ukrainian prime minister who was a political opponent of the country's then president. Craig has come out swinging, including going on camera to defend himself.
I did not participate in a scheme to mislead the government or conceal material facts. I was always honest about the reasons for my contacts with the media. This prosecution is unprecedented and unjustified. I am confident that both the judge and the jury will agree with me.
After news of the indictment broke, I asked the top Democrat on Senate intelligence for his reaction.
What we continue to see is that this effort and involvement with whether it's Russians or Ukrainians and a host of shadowy figures, the 100 contacts between Russians and folks affiliated with the Trump campaign or the Trump organization. I'm not sure where it finally all leads.
To be clear, Greg Craig was not affiliated with the Trump campaign or Trump organization, but this did develop from special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation of Paul Manafort. Harris?
And he is the highest profile Democrat to be indicted in a matter connected to Mueller's work. Mike Emanuel, thank you very much.